outstanding job speaking at several of our events. We really appreciate her input. Maria Hickman and her staff over at the Doty do a phenomenal job of helping out, not just in a recruiting setting visit, because they do a great job with the parents and the kids when they come on campus, but day-to-day operations. They do a wonderful job with our student athletes, and I really appreciate them. Dr. Jeff Guy and his medical staff, Clint Haggard, our head trainer, all of them coming on the weekends, making sure that the student athletes are going to be taken care of when they come here, and that's very important. And again, they took time out of their schedules. Angie Baskins does a great job of a liaison with football and academics here on campus, and she did a really good job throughout this entire process. James Quantz was a photographer that does the edits on Saturday. It was one of the best things we do on our visit. The players really enjoy that part of it, and he does a fantastic job. And Mary Beth Gomez over at 650 Lincoln, every time we go over there, she's always available helping our student athletes out, and we really appreciate her. Joe Lyle did a great job of putting our video together that we're going to show tonight, and really does a fantastic job with all those. But all these people took time out of their schedules on the weekends to help host us, our prospective student athletes. We really appreciate that. Robbie Lyles in his new role as a player of development did a fantastic job of circling the wagons for us as coaches, a new staff coming together. Very difficult to go through this situation. Unfortunately, I've been through it once before. So he did a fantastic job, and Jessica Jackson, our new on-campus recruiting coordinator, did a fantastic job with all the transcript information, all the things we've got to do behind the scenes. Those two were invaluable in our process. But 27 of our current players hosted recruits over I guess it was 5 different weekends we hosted, did a fantastic job for us. They really did a great job. Probably about half of the number on scholarship that we've got on campus right now. So that says something about their commitment level to do a great job for our program understanding and getting good players. And here's the key to a lot of what we do. We visited about 36 or 38 guys, and only 6 guys we offered didn't come. So when we got them on campus, we did a great job with them. So that's a credit to all the people I've mentioned before. And the players and the job they did when they get them on campus. This is a special place. You got Columbia, you have the 650 Lincoln, one of the best living facilities that I've been around. The new facility that's going to be built here shortly is going to be really exciting, one of the best game day atmospheres in the country here at Williams-Brice. So there's a lot of things to be excited about right now at South Carolina, and certainly we've got a lot going on. But 14 guys of these would be what I would say front 7 people. 4 of those being offensive linemen. Sean had all these guys in camp. And that's really, really important in this process to get the guys on campus and get them to camp. Because when you're able to evaluate how they get coached, we're going to coach them hard in camp. You're able to see more. Sometimes the film can lie. Sometimes level of competition may not be as good. But you're able to see how they handle hard coaching, see how they respond to that, what kind of competitive edge they have. A lot of the intangibles you're able to see in those settings. Critical that we get these guys in the summer camp as we move forward. 5 receivers. I'll detail those guys a little bit, but we needed to replenish there a little bit. You lose Pharaoh, you lose Jarrell Adams, you lose Sean Carson and Brandon Wiles, running backs, but they were very productive in the passing game for us. So we've got to be able to get that going. But the recruiting process to me is about evaluation, doing a great job with the film, doing a great job in the summer camps. The recruiting process of obviously selling a great place like South Carolina, and now we're in the developmental process. So when we get them on campus, developing them as football players on and off the field, student athletes to a certain degree. So we'll know about this class in 2 or 3 years. I mean, just be honest with you. That's when you find out about your development of what these guys do and how productive they're going to be. Out of the last 4 Heisman Trophy winners, two of them were redshirted. Doesn't mean they weren't good players. It's about opportunity to play as a freshman. It's about maturity as much as anything else. How they're going to handle that process coming into a new situation. So, again, 2 or 3 years we'll find out about these guys, and we've certainly started on the 2017 and 2018 classes. That's part of what you got to do now and developing those relationships early, and I feel really good about where we are there. But, just kind of going down here, speaking very briefly on each one of the guys. Corey Banks, we really found out for sure today that he was coming from Sandy Creek High School over, played for Chip Walker, a guy that I've known for a long time, but comes from a great program, really has good top-end speed. It's a guy that we really can vertically challenge people down the field. T.J. Brunson from right here at Richland Northeast, played for Jimmy Fry, former Gamecock, and a guy that, you watch the tape, he's got really good instincts in the box, really good contact speed, runs through people. You can see the game's really important to him, but excited about him. Akeem Cooperwood, originally out of Knoxville, Tennessee, but played for Burt Williams over at Georgia Military. Massive human being, 6'7", 360 pounds. That's being generous probably. But just a guy that's got really good feet, really good athleticism for a guy that size, can move his feet, get push. Rondricus Davis, we found out for sure today that he was going to be a Gamecock. Again, another guy, that can change the game when the ball's in his hands. He's really special as a returner, a receiver, plays in the slot, plays outside, can do some different things. Played at Mays High School over there in Atlanta. Chavis Dawkins, we know from Burns. We've got a lot of history there, obviously, with Coach Bentley, but another bigger receiver, a guy that goes and gets it, but he's coming from a great program. He knows about winning. He knows about practice habits. He knows what it's going to do to be successful. Rico Dowdle's a guy that I'm really excited about from Asheville, North Carolina. AC Reynolds, Coach Shane up there does a great job, but a guy that, I don't know, he scored 50-something touchdowns this year, and that's pretty impressive. But he's very explosive, bigger stature than you would think when you see him, but he also played quarterback, which I've always had very good success with high school quarterbacks that come play a different position for you, because at the end of the day, they got to communicate, they got to have some sort of leadership ability in that position. So, and they got to make a decision every single snap with the ball in their hand. So you got to have a good decision maker on all positions, but doing that on the high school level has transferred very well. Guys like Earl Thomas, Blake Gideon, guys I've coached in the past, Corey Webster, LaRon Landry, that have all transferred very well, that were all high school quarterbacks. But Brian Edwards from Conway, Brian came to us mid-year. He's on campus right now. Could have gone anywhere he wanted to in the country. Stayed here at here and home in the state school, and but a guy that can vertically stretch the field, go get the ball. He's a bigger receiver. It seems every year the receivers are getting bigger, and we certainly need him. C.J. Freeman, another mid-year guy coming to play for Johnny Roscoe up there at North Guilford in North Carolina, but a guy, again, we're excited about. Gained a bunch of yards up there. Griffin Gentry was committed to the previous staff over from Homewood over in Alabama, but a guy that plays with a high motor. Really excited about him. I had him in camp at Auburn. Was really pleased to be able to retain him. Evan Henson from Deltona is a guy that's a tight end that I think has a tremendous upside. He's a basketball player, but he's got great range. He's a 6'4", 6'5", 235-pound kid. His growth potential, I don't know where he's going to go with it, because he's going to be a big young man before it's all said and done. Cedarius Hutcherson's an offensive tackle out of Huntington, Tennessee, a 6'5" kid. We feel like frame-wise will be a 285-pound guy before it's all said and done. So he's a guy that we're going to lock in the weight room for a little while and see if he can't gain some weight and get stronger. Jamarcus King was a corner out of Coffeyville that we obviously knew a lot about from a previous stop, but it got really good coverage skills. Long guy's got tremendous top-end speed. We're expecting him to come in and compete right away. Pika Leota from Asheville, North Carolina. Again, another guy Sean had in camp. Really excited about him and his upside as a player. We really feel good about him. Brandon McElwain is here on campus right now. That was huge for us. We needed to sign a quarterback in this class, and he's a guy that we offered when I was at the University of Florida. He's an athlete that can run the ball, can throw it extremely well. But we're really excited about him. He's doing a great job for Chad over in baseball right now, but he will be full-time football as spring, and then the time he has time to play baseball, he certainly will contribute to their baseball team, and how much, that'll be up to Coach Holbrook. Keel Pollard comes from Colquitt County. He's 30-0, I believe, the last 2 seasons. Again, another great program, a winning program. He knows about work, playing for Rush Probst over there, but a competitive guy, plays in the slot, plays on the edge, a guy that we're really excited about. Will Putnam's a guy from Hickory Ridge up in North Carolina. Is, again, another massive human being that excited about getting him in the fold. Chris Smith's a mid-year guy from South Point High School, played from Heron up there in South Point, a guy that we're really excited about. Kobe Smith's a defensive tackle from Archer. Been really pleased watching him in our off-season program. Right now going through that. He's a guy that moves around extremely well for a 200, 300-pound guy. Stephon Taylor was a big get for us today out of New Orleans, a guy that I'm really excited about. I've been recruiting Stephon for about 3 years, and really in 3 different shirts. So, but he's a guy that I really feel good about. Kier Thomas, another guy that's here mid-year from Miami Central High School, a guy that's got a little pass rush, got a little juice on the line of scrimmage. Excited about him. Aaron Thompson, another defensive tackle from Dillard High School down in Fort Lauderdale. You can't ever have enough pass rushers. Robert Tucker from Best Academy in Atlanta. I think another guy that's got a tremendous upside as a player, a guy that, again, I think is a 6'3", 240-pound, very good athlete. Darius Whitfield from St. Paul's was committed to the previous staff, a guy that we knew a lot about, and Dennis Wonham from Stevenson. So, again, the class is, a good, deep class. We may have another guy here, maybe tonight. We're still kind of recruiting a little bit on, but I'm pretty pleased, and I'll open up for any questions.
Let's go to Brian first.
With SEC such a line of scrimmage league, how important was it to get so many defensive linemen particularly to buy in?
Well, I think that, the most exerting thing you do as a football player is pass rush, and you run out of gas pretty quickly. So especially early in the season, as hot as it is in Columbia and in the Southeast, you've got to have as many as you can rotate up front. So it's a developmental position. We needed to gain more girth up front and to be able to get Kobe and Stephon and some of those guys to come on, and that was huge for us.
David Caravella, Post and Courier. Well, with 4 freshmen from last year, you add I think 4 more in this class. I mean, these guys you mentioned Sindarius locking them in the weight room. Are these guys you foresee as redshirt candidates, or do you look into that?
We'll never make a decision on anybody redshirt until we get them on campus. We don't make any determination on anybody playing until we get them on campus. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I've been in situations where there's no question in my mind a young man was going to help us, was going to play for us, and for whatever reason, whether it was maturity or whatever, came on campus and just didn't fit. And it took him a little while longer to understand the speed of the game or whatever it was. I've had other guys that I didn't think there was any way they were going to play for us as freshmen, and they ended up contributing for us. We make those decisions in fall camp. And all we ever do in any situation is promise a young man an opportunity to come in and compete for a job. If he's good enough, he'll play. If he's the best at his position, he'll start. But we'll make those decisions in August, probably after the second scrimmage, about the 17th or 18th practice, and that's when those decisions will get made.
Will, Josh from the state. To clarify on McElwain and his role between you and Chad, how many conversations have you and Chad had about it? Because Chad talked like if he was a starter there, he was going to be baseball in the spring, and then with you the other part of the time. So.
No, he's be full-time football. He's on football scholarship. So Chad and I have talked a lot about it. We're all on really good ground with what we need to do there. When he's not involved with football, he will be playing baseball.
But you'll expect him at every spring practice.
Absolutely.
Coach, you mentioned Sean Elliott in your opening remarks. How big was he on the recruiting trail this year, and how nice was it to have a guy from the previous staff who had seen some of these guys already on your staff now?
Well, there's no question. I think that Sean did a great job. Having those guys in camp is critical. And I go back, whether it's as a head coach or coordinator, in all situations, looking at when you've missed on a guy. A lot of times you didn't have him in camp. So. The film can lie to you at times, and you got to be able to get them in camp, work with them, see how they're going to respond, and him being able to have those guys in camp was huge. But he's very well known in the state, obviously. He's been here for a long time, and he's done an outstanding job.
Stephon Taylor, to pull him out of New Orleans against the competition you were facing, and obviously you said you've been recruiting him for 3 years, so you must like him a lot. What do you like about him? What kind of makes him a special guy that drew the kind of recruiting attention he got?
Well, I think, Phil, the big thing, you can't coach 6'4", 300 pounds, and he's got good feet and change of direction. He's got good length in his arms. I think he's got 35, 36-inch arms when we were on campus. So, but a guy that's got that length and that girth are hard to find. He's also got good feet and change of direction and good lower body flexibility, so he can change, direction in line a little bit, get some push in the pocket. So a guy that you can identify some of these guys earlier in the process, which I identified him a long time ago, that I thought was going to be a very good football player, and he's turned out that way. But he's got a great personality. He's got a great work ethic. He comes from a really good situation there, but we're really excited about him.
Will, is there clearly you want to hit on everybody you sign, but is there a formula for doing this successfully to say out of every group, I need to have this many starters, this many guys who get in my rotation in order for you to feel like your metrics are adding up?
Well, again, when those metrics add up, it's probably in 2 or 3 years. And that's when I say that's when you truly find out if the class was a good class or not. You know, how many games did you win? So, you know, I don't really look in terms of, you know, to me it's about are they contributing to the team? You know, how they handle themselves off the field, but are they contributing to the team, and whether it's being a starting role or they be a productive playmaker for us on offense or defense or whatever it is. But I don't really have a metric to say, you know, what that is. To me, it all comes down to this guy was a very productive player for us. It was obviously we hit on this guy.
As you kind of look at this process, is it kind of interesting that the first guy you go visit after the press conference in Brunson, that you're able to get him here? Is it kind of special in that way to you?
Well, that day, T.J. Brunson and Brian Edwards, both of them. So I'm glad we got them. You know, so I think they're both really good football players. I think they'll contribute in a huge way here at the University of South Carolina. But you turn the tape on. I offered Brian when he's a ninth grader. You know, I didn't even realize I think he was 14 years old. So Chuck Jordan, his coach, has been up there for over 30 years at Conway. Told me that when I walked in the home that night. But again, those are two guys that we felt like we needed to pinpoint early and make sure they understood how we felt.
Coach Joe Gorcher, WIS here in the back. I'm just curious, you were recruiting coaches to come here, recruiting players to come here. How challenging was this last time period to get to this point for you on signing day?
Well, you know, I don't know that challenging would be the word. It was just, you know, there was a lot of these guys that wanted to be here. You had some guys that left their alma maters. You had some guys that left good situations because they wanted to be at South Carolina. So that was refreshing. And then on the recruiting trail, I felt very good about where we stood with a lot of the student athletes that we were recruiting. Like I said, we hit well on the guys we were able to get on campus. So that says a lot about the job we do on campus on the official visits, which is a very good visit.
Tim Hill, ABC Columbia. You mentioned the 3 different shirts that you've recruited in recently. How has this recruiting experience been for you? How does it compare to your past experiences?
Well, it's been great. I think and the biggest thing to me is the willingness of everyone on campus to help. You know, and that's hard because that's a lot of these people's free time, spare time that they need to be with their families, and they're reaching out to us. What can we do to help? And that's what makes this place special is the people that you're involved with, and it's been really wonderful.
Dwayne McLemore with the state. How important is it to get mid-year guys on here maybe every year, in this class in particular, and also kind of get them involved today, recognize them on signing day?
Well, when we get done here, I'm gonna bring the 6 mid-year players. They don't get to have a signing day, so I think it's always good for them to be able to get recognized. They're coming on campus to be here at South Carolina. But no, mid-year guys, I'd take as many as we could every year. You look at the standpoint. Normally, in a situation, most of these young men are finishing senior English, and they may play a spring sport. But if they're not playing a spring sport and they've already got their credits done, it's much more beneficial for them academically, number 1, socially, number 2, and then athletically, football-wise, number 3, to come to campus mid-year. You know, they're at a much slower pace academically because they don't have the distraction of getting ready for a season or getting ready for a game. They're able to do a much better job with them academically. They're able to do a much better job with them from a standpoint in the weight room to orient them to all the different lifts and the techniques that they're getting exposed to, because a lot of this is brand new for them. So it's a much slower environment as opposed to when you're talking in terms of August or September when they're going to be coming in and starting in fall camp. And then obviously being able to go through spring to learn our schemes and systems and not have the pressure of getting ready for a game. So it's a huge benefit, and about every situation I've been a part of has been a very positive experience.
How much of your pitch to these wide receivers was your depth chart and their opportunity to contribute early?
Well, I think that, again, they watch the games and they see the opportunity. They see that, Pharaoh is a very productive player. Jarrell Adams was a very productive player. Brandon Wiles was our third leading receiver. I think Sean Carson was fourth or fifth. Really, DJ Neal and Debo Samuel are the only two experienced players we have at the position returning. So they see opportunity, and they all were told, given the opportunity, if they're good enough and they're the best of their position, they'll play.
Will, given the timing of when you came in and the situation you inherited, how do you feel about how this entire recruiting process wrapped up, given that you probably didn't have all the time you would have wanted to dedicate to it, given the timing when you came in?
I'll let you know in 2 or 3 years. I'm very pleased with where we are. I really am. I mean, I don't think you're ever satisfied. So that's the way I kind of look at things. But I just think this is a 2 or 3 year process that you're going to look back, you're going to reflect back, and that was a really good class for us. Winning on signing day is not real important to me. It's about 2 years down the line, 3 years. Where are these guys? And how much did they contribute, and how much did they play? How productive were they as players for South Carolina?
Colin Taylor, Gamecock Central didn't say that in the first time. You mentioned in your introductory press conference that you wanted to win the state. And I know you got a lot of in-state guys to commit to you. Do you feel like you're starting to see some of that ground being gained on maybe a Clemson or someone else that's been able to recruit in the state pretty well, or get back to what South Carolina
Well, I think we have a lot of really good players in the state, and I think we've made some good inroads with this year's class and then moving forward with future classes. But so I feel comfortable about where we are. I think you look at the concentration of South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, because I consider Charlotte for us as in-state. I mean, because of the location, I consider Atlanta and Jacksonville in-state. But you're able to get there within a 3-hour radius and 4-hour radius to Jacksonville. So that's a day trip for a family to come see their son play. But again, I think we've made some good inroads in the state. All right, we're probably going to introduce these guys now. Steve, is that right? Coach Roscoe, come on down. Y'all come on down. Is mom and dad in here? There you go.
This way, please. Everybody look right here. Right here, please.
Kobe Smith. Come on, Coach.
Right here. Good look, please. Looks fine.
Got it. All right. Kiera Thomas.
There we go. Right here, right. Put the big-
Brian Evans. Brian's folks have to work with that.
Stay right here. Good smile. Good.
Brandon McElwain.
Beat on you, man.
All righty. All right, that concludes everything. Steve, you got anything else? I appreciate y'all coming. Thank you so much.